Well, today, Mystic Moto has the opportunity to meet a lady from Canada. Her name is Cassandra, and well, it happened that we met at the Wayeb, and we got the opportunity to talk a little bit. And it happens that something in common is there. Her father is Guatemalan, her mother is Canadian, native Canadian, and well, she is, in the two words, calling my attention is that she came, she dressed like a Guatemalan, and she's embracing the Guatemalan culture. But my question will be, how do you feel being Guatemalan, knowing that the Western society is right there waiting for you, and all of this has happened in a way that we never expected to see how Guatemala embraced spirituality, how the Maya Quiche have been able to maintain their spirituality, their culture for over 500 years. And besides all the obstacles that have been coming through to it, they're still alive. They're still uh, praying to their own gods, having their own culture and their own spirituality through the fire. And well, I can ask you questions, but I believe that it will be easier that let you speak, let you say from when you started to come to Guatemala as a kid, a little one, and now you are now, and you are doing this because you're finishing your career as a social worker, I believe.
Human rights and indigenous studies.
Okay, so that
Yeah.
will exactly hit the spot into what we are here trying to understand, trying to realize that we are simple human beings.
Right.
So it's all yours.
Yeah. So thanks so much for having me. It was really nice to meet, and when we did, I think it was, we were both very interested in like, wait a minute, this story sounds really familiar in our connection and coming home. My father is Guatemalan, and my father has been sending me to Guatemala since I was 9 years old to come connect with family here, to learn about where he's from. He lost his connection, and not to get into too much of it, but it was a difficult upbringing, not being here, not being from there, having this in-between kind of experience pretty often. My spiritual path and finding my way to myself, I'll say, through spirituality, really the core of it started in 2017 for me. Just pre-COVID, I guess, and walking this path. But in Canada, we have the opportunity to experience many different spiritual cultures, which is such a beautiful gift, because we can see the similarities in a lot of them, and we can see a lot of how we're all connected and we're all one. Post-COVID, I decided to quit my career. I decided to leave everything behind and pursue a degree and start my education to suffer in a different way. And, it started actually because I have an organization. We educate about our connection to the earth through garbage.
Okay.
So this was something for me that was really interesting, which I think comes back to my Mayan roots and our connection to the earth, something that just felt like my responsibility, and to be able to connect others through the earth and through garbage. So I decided to go to school for human rights. And I think when you're in school and you're understanding human rights and the earth, you can't understand the rights of the earth without understanding indigenous rights as well. They're really one and the same. And so, I'm studying, and I have to find a location for my practicum. If you're doing the human rights degree, you have the opportunity to do a practicum either internationally or locally from wherever you're from. So it hadn't been anything I thought about too much. I wondered about going to New Zealand to experience what the indigenous culture was like over there. I thought about Australia. I thought, you know, when I think
Wow.
international, yeah, I was like, let's go all the way across the
All over
world.
the place.
And it was actually a conversation with my father, and he said, Mija, why don't you go home? You know, and it struck me because I had thought, oh my goodness, how could I not have thought about Guatemala? You know, number one, the human rights violations that happened in Guatemala are some of the most recognized around the world for how difficult it was here. Number two, it's the reason I'm in Canada. It's the reason why my life is where it is. And that pull of diaspora, that yearn of my spiritual connection also comes from that. So I thought, okay, let me think about this and figure out how I could make this possible. Because for me, sure, it's an academic journey.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it's also a spiritual endeavor. You know, there really isn't a way for me to disconnect both of those things. So then I will rewind a little bit. Because in school, as I'm studying Indigenous studies, there's no way for me to study indigeneity in an institution without also connecting with the community itself.
Exactly.
That's very important for me. So I have a spiritual community in the north that I've been practicing and learning from, and I'm super grateful for my family there. And as I was in a sweat lodge one day, I was really yearning and praying to find more paths to Mayan connection, to home. Because sure, I can learn everything from there, but there's still something that felt like it wasn't mine.
Exactly, yeah.
So crazy enough, I leave the lodge, I go home to regenerate and to integrate everything. I open up my social media to doom scroll like any normal person would. And who follows me? Tata Andres. And I look at his page, Pensamiento Maya, information about Mayan culture, indigeneity to these roots here. And I thought, my prayers were answered right then in that moment. Right. So and little things like that are where I have to believe there's something greater that's helping.
So Australia and New Zealand, and it went away.
It went away, because I thought, okay, yeah, let me walk towards what I'm actually feeling in my body, what I'm actually craving. So I started to talk with Tata Andres. I started to learn more about my Nawal, my energy, and all of these things. And I felt so alive. I felt so incredibly in awe. And then it became time for me to have to present to my university, what am I going to do for my practicum? What am I going to study?
That's the hardest part.
What are you even doing here? Yeah, what are you doing? So for me, in my studies, a lot of the research that I have been doing, I'm very curious about what our right to healing looks like. Justice, which isn't really something that exists. And actually, human rights itself is very much a theoretical concept. So I'm trying to find this balance of reality and theory and understand how that works. And so I thought, what if I focus my practicum on the rights to culture, which we don't have. It was taken from my family. We don't have our cultural connection. It's something that I get in little bits from other communities, but still, it's not mine.
Yep.
What about our right to the land? What does that even mean? What does that look like? And how is that something that's in action? And then last, Indigenous studies. So I thought, okay, let me try to figure this out. And I reached out to Tata Andres. Tata, do you take students? Is there an opportunity for me to go as an academic to learn? I just want to come in, I want to witness, because I'm curious about what our right to healing would look like if it meant connection to culture, connection to earth, and connection to the indigenous ways of knowing and being. And he said, yes, however you're going to get there, we're going to pray to the abuelos, we're going to pray to the fire, and it's going to happen. And then I said, okay, now I have to present this grand idea to the university.
How are you going to do that?
And there was a part of me that felt, number one, do I deserve this? Am I asking the university to send me home to my culture and to my family? And is that an acceptable thing to ask for? And of course, there was reservations in my own mind, but I thought, I have to do this. This is all I've got so far for what I'm going to do for my practicum. And I felt a little bit nervous, walking to the university and in my head going over what I was going to say and what I was going to prepare and, who I was going to be studying. Yeah, how am I going to propose this grand idea to experience spirituality, rights to culture and land, home, where my dad is from.
Exactly, and actually present an academic paper out of it.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. So I felt silly, going into it. I could feel my palms were sweaty. I'm sitting there with the advisor, the education advisor, the academic advisor. I'm in a room and the spotlight's on me. And I said, okay, here's my idea, and a lot of my professors know what I'm interested in. They know that I'm a facilitator for meditation and for breath work and all these other things, because I really believe that healing and our accessibility to spirituality should be easy. It should be, it's everybody deserves
open
it.
for everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. So they know what I'm about. And so I begin to present to them. I say, okay, here's this opportunity. Here's the organization that they are full of life. This Mayan culture is alive, and they're really not only educating people, but they're bringing people into spirituality through culture, through the fire, through their ways.
Exactly.
So I presented, and then the room is quiet. We're all staring at each other. And my advisor says, it's brilliant.
Wow.
It's brilliant. What you're doing is
with
brilliant.
Eyes closed, yeah.
So the journey began. And I began to figure out, where am I going to stay? How long am I going to be in the country? What exactly am I going to be doing? And of course, when it comes to the Mayan culture, there really isn't planning,
No.
It's not planning. So I had to really, in coming here, unlearn a lot of what we learn in those Western ways of being. Yeah. So for me, coming here was a complete collapse of everything that I know to be able to understand more about this culture that I've been yearning, this culture that I feel disconnected from. And then I'm here. So really my being here was a prayer that turned into an idea from my father saying, go learn what happened to our family, go learn why we're not here anymore. And then suggesting that as an idea of understanding, what if the right to healing came through my own experience?
Exactly.
So
yeah, well.
So in a bubble with many and few words, that's what brought me here.
Today is Humlahu Noch.
Noch.
Is the Nawal of the knowledge.
Yes.
And he says that what you don't learn through your own body is no one learned. So I guess if you relate that to the Nawal of the day, makes a lot of sense that if you don't have the experience through your own body, you don't learn.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm grateful. It's not something that you can read in a book. And I think that was that's the idea behind the human rights practicum, is to be able to experience something with an experiential learning, to be able to understand through the perspective lens of actualizing what human rights are.
Exactly.
And so there's many organizations that I could have been a part of in Manitoba, where I'm living and where I'm studying. And I think it was also important for me to understand that cultural connection and that very parallel story that exists between both of those worlds. So.
Yeah. And one of the things important is that the roots, and as the Maya culture says, the roots and the grandparents, those abuelos, will call us.
Yeah.
I think you had that call from your ancestors in Guatemala.
Totally. Yeah, totally.
Crazy, yeah?
It is crazy. And that I'll shout out to my dad, because it was him who, in living in Canada, always would say, find the root. That's the best way for you to learn about anything, is to be able to get to the root of it. And I think in hearing that at such a little age and learning from indigeneity in the North, it was always something that was a line tracking me back to here. So I feel grateful. I feel so grateful to come and to be adorned in the traje and the traditional wear and to really feel that connection to the earth.
You really feel Indita de Guatemala.
Yeah, and my dad has really always called me that, and really always pushed for me to learn and to be that vessel of connection for our family. So it feels like a dream. It feels like a prayer answered, and I'm doing everything to walk slowly and with intention. That's the only thing that I can do while I'm here.
I remember, I think it was the third day or the fourth days of the Wayeb. You were not there, but Juan Carlos, I don't know if you remember Juan Carlos, the man of the huts.
Yeah.
Um, they were putting a fence to avoid the wind coming into the area where the fire was. So he came very seriously and walked in and says, "You guys, I had a dream last night." Okay. And it comes related to your connection with earth and garbage. And he says, well, I was coming out of the house and somebody was throwing firecrackers, and I said, well, don't do that here because we don't like that. So they walk away, and Cassandra, he says, came into my dream and says, we have to clean up. We have to keep the garbage away. And that was something that, you know, they came out of the blue, I will say in English, because did you really dream? Him, right? Did you really dream all of this?
Wow.
Or you just talking? Because the place was full of garbage. It took me 2 days working like 3 or 4 hours every day, cleaning up, taking the garbage away, and it's still a lot of garbage, right? So my question now is, how was your impression when you came and you start visiting all these places and you saw all this garbage that you are working against it?
The very first sacred site that we went to, it's hard for me. It's really hard for me to see because garbage is a human problem.
Yes.
It's a new problem. You know, we have this idea that we throw it away and this magical land of away will take care of everything. Or there's this outward responsibility that isn't our own. And so going to sacred sites, seeing how beautifully adorned they are in flowers, in candles, in care, but then just right outside of it, it's littered, you know, it's littered.
Yes.
And it's difficult for me because it's something that just doesn't make sense. And this isn't just a problem here, it's a problem around the world. You know, there isn't a place that you could go. If there's humans, there's garbage, I say. And it was really difficult. And I think what was very interesting is I didn't really talk about garbage with everybody here because it's kind of
funny.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, and it's kind of like
because people are used to just cigarettes,
throwing it out and
garbage. The water here is drinking in a bottle,
plastic,
and what do?
And
just
burn it, you know. When Tata Manuel, it was one morning, I think day one of Wayeb, and we were standing just getting ready. I think you were getting chairs or getting the lights or something like that. And Tata Manuel said, I have to tell you something. I have to tell you about the dream. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it because I hadn't talked to him about garbage. That wasn't a conversation that I had. I didn't tell everybody that I have an organization about education on garbage. And so my body just felt overwhelmed and I just cried.
Vibrating, right?
I just cried, you know, and I felt like, wow, even just our essence in being around each other is influenced, you know, and we show up in each other's dreams and these messages, you know, from other things are coming. So it was something so special. I felt overwhelmed with emotion. I felt overwhelmed with feeling seen and recognized. You know, I think something that I have felt here that I have never felt anywhere else is being understood for my energy first.
Exactly.
You know, really, and without them having to know anything about me and just knowing what my energy is and which number is connected to that energy, they know who I am. They value my essence. They understand that. And that was something I was craving. And I knew it existed in the world, but I had never felt it before. And that was something very, very grounding in coming here and feeling
very
like,
profound.
here I am. Here I am. And here I'm seen. And that was crazy. The garbage is the hardest part of being here. And now I'm a little more open now that they know that I'm a garbage person. We'll go to places and I'll pick up the garbage, you know, without even having to say anything. It's like, well, if there's any way that we can help each other, it's to lead by example.
Exactly. It's something cultural.
Yeah.
We don't have that momentum of saying, well, I'm polluting.
Right.
The conscience is not there to say, well, I have to help Mother Earth
Right.
to be clean, right? And so, well, it's a long journey to help people to understand that.
Totally.
Well, we were together at a place called Cerro Quemado, and it was the same thing, you know. Marvin, who was the real interested in doing the ceremony there, make a nice little altar there, but he was surrounded of garbage.
Yeah.
You know, it's
it's hard
I don't
to
know
see.
how people don't understand that.
Sometimes we forget that everywhere is the planet Earth. Everywhere is Mother Earth. Even if there's buildings, even if there's construction or all of these other things, it doesn't take away from what it is.
Exactly.
You know? So
it goes to the same place.
It goes to the same place.
It goes to ruin everything for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? Now, time has passed by. You have understood already many things that you can change, many things that you cannot change. How to yourself is the comprehension of the division of the cultures. When you are Guatemalan, you are one way. But once you get back to Canada, it's going to be a big shock.
Yeah, it is.
And what do you expect now?
What a big question. You know, my hands are sweaty. With only a few weeks left here, and then my journey begins to integrate myself back to Canada, I knew it wouldn't be easy. I've completely taken away from, you know, what are our Western ways of being, and I'm going to be bringing myself back in there, and it feels like it's going to be another reverse culture shock. I'm feeling nervous. I can feel in my throat. I'm feeling scared. To come somewhere and to feel the connection to culture, the connection to earth, the connection to community, and to know that I'm going back somewhere that actually it's the American dream, the hyper-independent way of being, the disconnected customer. I feel really nervous. I don't want to assimilate back into that society. And you know, and I wonder, how do I still maintain my essence of both worlds? Because, you know, as you mentioned earlier, it's like living in these in-between spaces. And now I've been here rooting, you know, into this way of being and understanding and learning their ways of knowing. So I'm going to do it slowly. You know, I'm grateful for my past self who knew that the integration wouldn't be an easy one with how different the worlds are. They're very different, but at the same time similar, you know?
Yes.
It's
the
going
reintegration
to
of the brain.
It's going to be reintegration
you know?
of the brain and language.
Once again, no.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
The knowledge of no, you know, the integration of the heart and the brain and all the nervous systems to allow us to really get this chain to be together.
Yeah.
And instead of being a chain, becoming a path for what we need to be able to express or to comprehend, because, well, here we are.
Yeah. And that's been a funny thing, you know. I've been labeling myself now as La Chapina Gringa.
Okay.
Because I'm not from here, but I'm not from there, but I am from here. My roots are here, but I'm also from there.
Well, you know, at the end of the day, we're not gringos.
No.
We're Canadian, you know?
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference, because there is a big border right there, and now it's a very crazy border.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But we're not talking about politics. It's completely
no.
away, but I think Canada needs to be really clear about that. You know, that we're, as I am Canadian, as I feel Canadian for many years living there, I believe that we're different than the gringos.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But you know, at the same time, it's something that I can honor and respect because I'll say often as well, no soy indígena, pero mi sangre sí es indígena. And
Yep,
for that, it's why I'm here.
exactly.
And so it's being able to come with humility and respect. I
Hmm.
think for me, the journey has just been one to humble into understanding that I didn't have this way of life, but I'm really grateful that I can return home and to be welcomed and to be accepted and you know to actually prove they do want to share that culture is meant to be shared.
This is what we come to learn,
Yeah, exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
that we are one with everybody
Yeah.
and one for everybody,
Yeah, exactly.
you know.
Yeah.
So, Cassandra, what a pleasure to get to know you a little bit better. What a pleasure to share with you a little bit of the experience that we go through in our new world, in our new way of life. Because this is completely different. When we get back there, when we come back here, it's like, okay, where I am. Oh, wait a minute. I gotta adapt
Yeah.
myself to this or to that, right?
Right.
But um, at the end of the day, the one who grows is our spirit,
Yeah.
is our realization that human beings can be brothers and sisters all over the world if we can act humbly and we can act with the reality that it's nothing else but we who help each other to be honored by the spirits, by our ancestors. Allow me to give you a hug
Thank
and
you.
thank you very much for this opportunity. And it's you to say goodbye to and give a message to the Canadians.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's so nice to get to reflect together on these things and to laugh and to share so many similarities. And I think that, you know, if anything, I would say to everybody is just to keep being curious, to stay open, to stay in connection with yourself, and to getting to know your highest and your best self. And however that journey looks, everybody's journey is different, but we all end up, you know, on that same path, walking each other home. So thank you so much for having me. It's been such a
It's been
pleasure.
a pleasure.
Yeah.
And this is for Mystic Motto.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, as I said all the time when I do an interview or I am on the road, I said, if you like what you see, please subscribe, give us a like. And now, this is completely in English, so give us a good comment on this because Cassandra would like to know what's going on with this.
Yeah.
And I
Totally.
also would like to know about our people in Canada because, well, as we speak English, it's more for them than from Guatemalans, right?
Yeah.
So
True.
hopefully we get a good review on this one and see what happens.
See what happens.
So I'll see you on the road. Thank you for being with us with Mystic Motto.
Awesome. Thanks so much.